Good evening and welcome to tonight's September 9th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting. Clerk will call the roll, please.
Tauschek.
Here.
Herman.
Here.
Matsdorf. Here. Gilson.
Here.
Penquitz.
Here.
Binder.
Here.
Sandy.
Here.
Let the record show we have a quorum. Next is the approval of the minutes from August 12th, 2025. Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion approved. Second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 3, discussion and possible recommendation on bike scooter helmet requirement. Before we get into this, if we get a little too long on it, we'll cut the discussion and move it to a later council meeting so that we start our regular council on time. With that, I'll turn it over to Tim to start the discussion.
Yeah, I'll just do a very brief introduction, Mayor, and then I'll turn it back over to you. So at the August 12th Committee of the Whole meeting, staff provided an update on code changes related to scooters, bicycles, play vehicles, following recent changes in state statutes and those requirements. During the discussion, there was a discussion raised of whether a requirement should be created to require children under 16 to wear helmets. Really, before bringing that final ordinance related to scooters and bicycles back to council for consideration, there was some requests on doing some Q&A with some other communities, so that has been attached. So if you have not, please scan through that. Police Department, appreciate Chief Ruggles for reaching out to Port Washington and Ashwaubenon, who did recently adopt an ordinance. Those are attached. But again, before bringing a final ordinance back, we figured let's get some discussion at the council level to see if we should make those changes that were discussed, or if that's something we discuss further, or just bring back as previously presented. So Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you to lead the discussion.
Thank you very much. The reason for bringing this forward, I think, is very valid in the total concept of things. My concern, and I'll ask the chief to make a comment, is that we impose on the department things that might end up being negative when seen by the public. So much of this, I think, is common sense and parental guided, and we can't legislate common sense. But I do think an awareness of what we would like to have as a safety first policy might be in order. Something to think about. Chief, any comments that you want to make regarding this? And then I'll ask for any council input as we move forward, as Tim said.
So obviously it's very hard to argue against safety, and especially when we're talking about children. So first and foremost, helmets on children riding bicycles, especially potentially in traffic or anywhere else, it really can't hurt them. So again, it's very hard to say that this is a negative thing. The concern I have had is that the image of the police officer stopping numerous kids right now, it's evident within the community that a lot of kids aren't wearing helmets when they're riding their bikes or their scooters or whatever else through town. Again, our emphasis was to incorporate the scooters as now required by state statute into our current bicycle ordinance. The helmet was an additional question. In comparison to the other communities, their emphasis is on education and on providing helmets. In the case of Port Washington, they have a very active program that they have been following for many years, where donations are converted into helmet purchases and then provided to the kids. We don't currently have such a program. It would take time to find donors and to generate funds in that capacity, unless it's council's intention to find money in the budget somewhere to fund that. And again, that's not what Port Washington does. They do donations to cover those expenses. Ashwaubenon is intent on following that path forward. In my discussions with them, they intend to do the same thing, try to find donations to fund the helmet purchases, to provide the kids who don't have helmets, with the intention to be, provide them where they can, educate across the board. And as we saw from the numbers that Port Washington has delivered, in the years since 2012, when their records go back to, they've only issued 17 warnings or citations for that ordinance in that time. So it's really only about one a year in enforcement. So the emphasis is not on enforcement. I would ask that if the council does consider this, we follow a similar path, that not putting the enforcement burden on the police department at this point in time, but rather an effort towards education and safety, and enforcement being the last resort.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. I'll open it up to council members to add on to what the chief has commented on and what your thoughts are on it. So we'll short and sweet so we get around the room. Go ahead, John.
All right, I can add to what the chief has just talked about. My 3 grandchildren grew up in Port Washington. First one was in the year 2000. 2003, Port Washington started their program as far as educating and supplying helmets and stuff. And they all wore helmets, and they did all the way through until they left home. I don't know if they wear them now. But the program they did have was excellent as far as educating. A lot of kids participated. So I think you'll see a lot of kids that are riding around Port Washington with helmets on. I really would like to see, I don't want to put any kind of thing in a new ordinance as far as requirements for helmets, but I think it would be neat to have the policy, the whereases that we have before we mention the policy. If we would mention in a couple of whereases the importance of safety as far as wearing helmets when you're on those kind of vehicles, the importance of encouraging people to, educate their kids. A couple of whereases I think would be good for us to at least take a position that we encourage education and promotion of wearing helmets, especially for our young people.
Good, thank you. Mike?
I don't think that we should put that in an ordinance where they have to wear a helmet, but I like the idea of education.
Diane?
I like the idea of education, maybe have it at school, like maybe a couple, 2-3 times a year, but I don't feel like we should put it in as an ordinance.
Kevin?
We have an ordinance for a bicycle belt. We don't, I don't see too many people getting pulled over for not having one.
Jeff?
I think I would.
And the reminder that our traffic in this city is gonna increase 25% in the next 8 years. Don't forget that.
Jeff?
I think the idea of helmets 16 and under is a good idea. We can't argue against it. It was said earlier. I don't like the enforcement of enforcing that age group or any younger. I think it's putting an additional burden on the parents to pay for helmets if they have 4 or 5 kids. I guess I would like to see an education component. If we go with an ordinance and not a enforcement aspect at this time, we can always update it, I guess, but I would also like to see if there's some grant money out there, donations, and focus on, getting kids free helmets. And when they're working with the bicycle shops, Walmart, some of these other places, the, bicycle rodeos, things they had in the past, I don't know how many. Once again, that's another burden on the police department. I'm not advocating that they do all these events. I think there's some organizations that would be happy to help, where it's a train-to-trainer type thing, where different groups in the community could do this. Some of the service clubs, those types of things. So at this point, I would possibly agree with an ordinance, but I'd have to look at the language first before I'm not 100% committed to it.
Thank you. Angie?
I think it's overstepping as a city, so helmets are great, but I think parents should make that decision. And likewise, I think education is great, but I don't know if it would come at the city level.
Thank you. David?
Yeah, I mean, I think helmets are a great idea, and my kids all wear helmets, or wear helmets, my grandkids do too. That is a parental thing. I just don't think it makes sense to craft an ordinance that can't or won't be enforced.
Thank you all for your comments. I would like to have you, if you have additional comments, pass those along to Tim, City Administrator, and we don't have to make this immediate as far as the decision process, but I think it's kind of a work in process, and see what we can find on education material and so on. So, any other information you want on that, Tim?
No, I think I got enough
Okay.
guidance from council.
That sounds good. Thank you all. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second the motion.
She was empty too.